On April 19th of 1989, off the coast of Puerto Rico gun range, about 600 pounds of black powder lit off inside the center gun house in Turret 2 on board the USS Iowa. 47 men died in split seconds time. They were there 1 second and then they were gone the next. And that's the only thing I can say is that's the way I want to go. I want to be here and conscious 1 second, then just know nothingness. Well, I'm going to give you the events of that day as they unfolded for me. And I'm one of 1,500, whatever it was, crew and Marines we had on that ship. I was in the port side aft twin 5-inch gun. In the upper handling deck, we'd load the gun. We'd load the bullets and the powder. That was all one piece. Our space filled up with smoke, which means a lot of the ventilation of the ship was full of smoke. So I, being senior man in there, I told him stop. Don't send any more ammo up. Opened the door, and there was a third-class bosun mate, Corvers, there, trying to get a fire hose, and just kind of freaked out. I said, what's going on? He said, turret 2 exploded, and I can't go back up there. I said, shit. I told the guys, I said, send all this back down and shut everything off. Just lock her down. And I headed out and went up forward, and I swear to you, as I was heading up the forward port side, on the main deck, there was some sort of secondary explosion inside that gun, and I seen it expand and contract. This is an armored gun, and I knew that something was wrong, something bad. So I got up there, and there's the remains of a sailor, charred and thrown down onto the main deck. And there's some flames coming out of an opening in the gun. So I don't remember anybody helping me, but I got a fire hose and run it out and got it running and was spraying some flame on it when the firefighting team came up, dressed out in firefighting outfits and the breathing apparatuses. And I gave the guy the nozzle and pointed at some fire and got out of his way. Not too long after that, somebody yelled flooding. And, well, I'll give it in the best order I can. I'm sorry. But it wasn't long after I handed him the hose that the water pressure just fell off on the hose, and he couldn't even fight the fire. And then it wasn't long after that somebody yelled flooding, and I found out that somebody else on the ship had got to and tripped the magazine flooding system and basically, I think, saved the ship. The magazine would have went up. The forward part of that ship would have been 2 pieces. And there was no swimming away from a 54,000-ton vessel sinking. It wasn't happening. It would have sucked the lifeboats down initially. But so I went below decks, went down to repair locker 3 or whatever it was up forward, and they were pulling out pumps and hoses, and said engineering berthing, I think, was one of them that was flooding, and I went back there with them, started helping them set up the hoses and the pumps and running them out and all this shit, and I don't know how much time passed by. It was a while. Somebody popped out of a hatch and said, hey, we need a bosun mate in turret 2. And I said, shit, I'm going. I followed them and went in there. And I remember when I come up on the main deck and I had that fire hose. I said, why are these guys coming out of there? I mean, they flames and shit. There'll be guys jumping out of there. And it didn't make sense. Then when I followed this guy and I went up into the guts of the gun, up through the decks, I knew why. There wasn't none of them coming out. the thing that I remember most about my entrance into that gun was stillness. When I popped my head through that hatch, there was a man right there in dungarees, just like he was laying there asleep. The whole crew in that part of the gun, those middle decks, died of suffocation, instant vacuum, if you will. It was like they went to space all of a sudden. Because when the fire, when the black powder expanded and it blew up in the gun, all the hatches, all the way down to the powder flats, were open. And that fireball shot down there, I can only imagine, I'm not an eyewitness, but shot down through the holes and then mushroomed out in the bottom, and it took all the oxygen with it in the decks in between. The guys that were up in the gun were dismembered. The guys in the middle died of a vacuum. The guys in the bottom died of heat and compression, I guess, concussion. So, but what happened is when they flooded that magazine, the valve got stuck and it wouldn't shut off. And that was a problem downstairs. The bridge saw the firefighting pressure of the water drop to virtually non-existent, probably because the flooding system was stealing every ounce of water the ship had and dumping it into that magazine. When that valve broke or froze or whatever it did, I'm sure the captain said, "Hey, you put more firefighting pumps online. We need firefighting water up here to cool this gun and to get these flames that's going on up here under control." And that put more water in the magazine, more water in the berthings. Till somebody figured it out. I don't know who, but they're also a hero. Because that water was coming. Once it flooded that magazine, that water was coming. I personally handled or viewed the remains of all 47 men that died in that gun that day, and several of the survivors were in my division, and I was grateful for them to be alive. There was only 8 in the projectile, the auxiliary decks down below, that survived that explosion. There was one young guy seen it coming. Hands were up like that, just, right there, and then the heat just, I think he may have been the only one, I don't know. There was a guy in there who used to talk about his little sisters. And he said, "I got to get a letter out to them girls. They wrote me a letter and I got to get them a letter back." Another fella 2 weeks on the ship. Another one, just a baby, was just born. I hope this helps somehow put it in an archives or something with the other battleship stuff, because I'm going to post it on the battleship site. See what comes of that. Hell, I might do another one. I got, like I said, I witnessed, handled. I lowered the remains down through the hatches. I had to put them in body bags. And then put half hitches starting at their feet and going right up, about 4 half hitches up the length of their body. And then lower them down, standing up basically, through them hatches, because that's all the space we had. But I was careful and respectful and considerate. And if you ever find yourself in that situation, don't speak to the people that you're handling. Just don't say anything. Just go on about your business and do what you got to do. But I had to dump this, and I don't show emotion. It shows on my face, but this is good. This is a good thing. Thanks.